This morning I was watching a little bit of the House oversight, whatever this hearing was regarding SBF and FTX. And there were some things which I wanted to point out to you which were absolutely fascinating to me. And the first thing that was fascinating to me was the number of congressmen, congresspeople, congresspersons who said repeatedly, I don't know what Bitcoin is. I don't understand blockchain. I don't understand not Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency. I don't know what this is. This is from the Oversight Committee. This is from an investigative committee who said repeatedly, I don't know what this is. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who you are, what you're doing, what your plans are. It was simply, as the kids say, amazing. Amazing what I was hearing repeatedly from individuals who were charged with investigating an individual who, by the way, Mr. SBF, happened to be arrested right before these hearings occurred. Isn't that interesting? So now nobody can ask him anything because, of course, he has a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and everything is suspended or is on hold. Don't you find that fascinating? I do, among other things. Let's go into that, shall we? A few things. But first, a word from our sponsor. $2,000. That's where gold is headed. The growth will continue throughout 2023, with gold prices remaining elevated at an average price of $2,086 an ounce. All this according to Bank of America. It looks like they're right. At the beginning of December, gold crossed $1,800 and still climbing. If this year has taught us anything, it's that tangible assets are the only assets you can count on, like gold. And it's time to open a gold IRA now. Crypto keeps on tanking. Stocks are too volatile. Gold in your IRA is steady. So what are you waiting for? It's not too late. Thousands of people have retired comfortably with the help of Noble Gold Investments and their gold and silver IRAs. If you've been a hesitant investor, but one of the handful of Americans who can go for gold and silver in your IRA, now's the time to act. And if you get in before the end of the month, you'll bag an incredibly free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin with every qualified IRA of $20,000 or above. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Call 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Remember, there's always a risk of loss, and past performance is not indicative of future results. To reiterate, to perorate, to remind you again, the number of Congress people I heard this morning in this investigatory review, this House investigation was, I don't know what cryptocurrency is. I just and there's nothing that I can say enough to put into a framework. Not, I don't know where this money went, or I don't know how it was evaporated, but what is it? Is it, I mean, and then the questions were, this was also the most tepid. Well, do you think there should be some kind of regulation? Well, I don't know, maybe. Do you think we need some type of oversight? Well, it could very well be, yeah. He reminded me a bit of the CEO who was speaking this morning. He reminded me a tad of Bill Barr. He had that same countenance, that same kind of review. Yes, the FTX hearing, the FTX group CEO, John, I'm looking right now, I'm so sorry, forgive me, John Ray, who apparently was trying to compare or looking at this in terms of Enron and others. I mean, I just found this to be right off the bat fascinating. The almost a polite, like, well, maybe, Now, what people are going to suggest is that because he was such a strong Democratic and progressive contributor, that they're going to go light on him. Perhaps that's going to be suggested, certainly. But what's even more interesting is where we've come, and how there seems to be the most quiet call for not only an investigation, but perhaps criminal sanctions and penalties, if indeed warranted. It's the strangest thing. Now, when he is in custody, where is he going to be in custody? Is he, and please do not take this the wrong way, will he be afforded and accorded and given complete and total protection and actual physical oversight? And I don't want to bring up Mr. Epstein. I'm not in any way trying to imply or insinuate any similarity twixt or between the two. But I do ask the question, and this is to me the most interesting. Do you think, in terms of what we have learned before in the past, and especially when you have somebody who perhaps might be of a fragile demeanor and psychological wherewithal and composite by virtue of his youth and by virtue of what seems to be almost a disconnect in terms of the degree and the severity of this. When he was speaking before the New York Times deal book or what have you, he spoke of this sad and unfortunate kind of an oversight and accounting in the most unique of ways. I found it nothing short of fascinating how he spoke in a way and in a style, and spoke with criminal charges pending, theoretically. What his parents are esteemed Stanford law professors. Who let him even talk? None of it makes any sense. None of it. When criminal charges are pending, you have the right to remain silent, and should, not because you're guilty, but because people might have the tendency, the inclination to maybe take something out of context and to read into it differently, to impute liability when none was really there or should have been imputed. Now, what this is, and what I want you to watch, is watch the tenor of this. Compare it to Bernie Madoff, the style, the way when Bernie Madoff was talked about. They talked about the greed, and they talked about his lavish lifestyle. Now, Mr. SBF had a unique lifestyle. He sported the usual T-shirt, which we love T-shirts. He had a kind of a bohemian, a very classy and very, very, very well paid for bohemian lifestyle, living in his Bahamas manse with his girlfriend. They talked about polycules and polyamory, and that's beside the point, but that certainly made this more interesting. And he talked about these wonderful, idealistic, altruistic terms and conditions and desires on his part, when in fact none of that seemed to pay or connect in any way to the individuals who basically had their monies vanished. Now, what is going to happen next in terms of world governments and others insisting upon a world digital currency? How does this bode, so to speak, for individuals who are proponents of such? This is what's going to happen. By virtue of the arcane and rather recondite aspect to this storyline, by virtue of that, people are going to be not necessarily as tenacious with this as one would think. When we speak of matters that are economic, when we talk about finance and money and currency and the markets, and we have a kind of a detached, dare I say, ennui, nonchalance, kind of an intellectual torpor where we just we don't have time for this. Watch carefully the reaction. Will there be a decisive and decided difference between the way the Republican inquisitors and the new House majority handles this? And if not, if Democrats and Republicans handle this in terms of the volume and the severity and the tone of their collective voices, if they are similar, what does that mean? Now, I don't want to in any way read anything into this. It's very easy for people to sit back and say, aha, I know what this means. Well, we don't know what this means. It's too early to find out what's happening. But I've never, ever caught myself thinking as much as I do now, that's an odd way to react, or that's a unique way to react, or that's strange. Then again, what news story have you heard where you haven't thought that? It's fascinating. That's strange. And what's interesting also is that by virtue of the absolute deluge, the avalanche of information that you have in terms of just all the news platforms and digital platforms that you might be privy to, it's very difficult sometimes to put everything into perspective. So what I want you to do is that you can do this. Watch the reactions, watch the attitude, listen to the volume, and see how long this stays around, so to speak. Because remember my 3-day rule. After 3 days, if you don't grab the attention and the heartstrings of the public, after 3 days, it's forgotten. It's, for all practical purposes, moot. Think about this, my dear friend. And also, please subscribe to this channel. Please like this video. Please hit that little bell so you're notified of new videos and the like. And always comment as you see fit.